Hello, everyone. Here's chapter 11, Globalization and the Future of Comparative Politics. This is the last chapter for this class. So, congratulations on reaching the end. Once again, this wasn't the longest chapter. It's a lot of repeat topics. We've highlighted a lot of these things. But the main thing that we're going to look at is going to be obviously globalization. Okay. So, the key concept that we'll look at is globalization, obviously extensive plus intensive webs of relationships across time and space. We'll look at political globalization, economic, society. Okay. And what scholars have debated in the past is this something that is a new phenomenon? Is it exaggerated? Like, are we just kind of just we're researching just to research? It's not really that big of a deal. Maybe we're overanalyzing things. Okay. And if it does exist, is it reversible? Is there any way that we can backtrack from it? Okay. So if we look historically, we can look at thin historical connections, look at the Silk Road, look at empires and early trade routes. Okay. Um, Few people were crossing or going across long distances, okay, to barter with each other. Okay. Now, or were connected. Now, thick connections, this or something that's modern, it's going to be millions of people that are directly linked due to travel. Okay. Communication. So over the phone, the internet has played a big role in this. Us being able to email, call each other, text each other in an instant. Us being able to go and read what's going on in another country across the world at an instant second as soon as the article is posted. Okay. Um, when it comes to business, we have started to see companies or corporations spread, okay? And they would like to spread outside of their country's borders. So that is why we get, fast food restaurants in other in countries, okay? That is why we get things like Uniqlo's in America, okay, which is predominantly a Japanese business, okay? Or is founded in Japan. And then education. We have people go and study abroad. We build um, American institutions, and not just American institutions, other countries do this as well. They build educational institutions in other countries. Okay, so that we just live in the constant age of where information is flowing, and it is very instant for us to get access to this information. So we almost are all living in your textbook likes to say is in this same moment in this world. Okay. So if something happens, we almost feel like we experience that moment. Okay. All at the same time, all around the world, regardless of the color of our skin, regardless of our gender, regardless of our religion. Okay. Now, why does globalization challenge comparative politics? Okay. So domestic politics increasingly is shaped by global forces. Okay. So whenever countries are deciding policy, they are heavily influenced by what the rest of the world is doing. Okay. Whether that is things like climate change, whether it's dealing with migration or immigration, whether it comes to trading or outsourcing materials, how do we handle pandemics? Okay. We're going to look at what other countries are looking at. Okay. Um, and then local events that we have can kind of ripple globally. Okay. So like when we see like maybe an assassination take place or we see like a bombing or there's some type of financial crisis going on. It can be any local event. Um, a great example of this: someone being beheaded in the middle of the street. Okay, that is a local event. It's very serious, but local event. Okay, that event is going to go all around the world. Floods in Thailand is a good example of this. This led to global computer shortages and the U.S. stock panic. Okay, that was something that was a local event, but it led to a crisis that was much bigger than that. Okay. Now, obviously, here are a couple examples of that. This is going to be the examples that we have up there. COVID-19 was a really good example of this, looking at how we analyze pandemics, and then the flood in Thailand. There's an image of that. Okay. Here's a really good table that your textbook actually likes to analyze, looking at NGOs, IGOs, and MNCs. Okay. So you can kind of look at this in your own time, look at it in the PowerPoint, or you can just look at it in your textbook. I just wanted to add it in the PowerPoint. Okay. Remember, I want to keep this video really short. It's the last video of the semester. I know you guys are more focused on actually getting your final done, if anything. Okay. Now, are these new institutions? Okay. Not really. Okay. They hold authority and legitimacy. They shape norms, rules, and regulations, and they can support or undermine state institutions. Okay. The internet especially challenges this sovereignty. Okay. The internet has no borders. it's hard to regulate, and there's new actors, both good or bad, and also anonymous actors. Okay, so many people are you scroll through the internet and you actually don't know who's on the other side of that screen spreading a message. Okay, other things that I like to look at is like we always try to figure out like why are people posting certain things on their platform. Okay, why are they highlighting certain types of topics, like who is in their pockets, um or maybe in their, I would say within their circle, who's telling them to discuss these types of topics. Are they discussing them because out of sheer curiosity, or is there money that's involved? Okay, and maybe that's something that's influencing them um, to be a good or a bad actor. Okay, now this golden straitjacket quote is by Thomas Friedman. Okay, and Friedman's idea is that states must adopt global norms. Open market is transparency and integration. Okay, and what's funny is when people see that stuff online or through social media, it leads to trends, and then they say, well, they have this in China, we should have this. Oh, this is going on in Russia right now, this is happening in Russia or in England, why don't we have that here in America? Oh, hey, look, that's happening in America, why doesn't Mexico have it? Why doesn't El Salvador have it? Okay, in exchange for that, we try to match those things, or we want to maybe sometimes feel like we're superior. We gain stability and growth, okay, but we lose autonomy. All right. So we end up having these hollowed out states. Okay. So the optimistic view of it is, this is just, how some people view the world, which is actually really nice. Okay. Leads to us having more cooperation. There should be less war between us two. It's too costly. We're too interconnected. Why are we going to spend all this time bombing each other when we could be focusing on working together? Okay. Now, uh, more transparency leads to ICC prosecutions, NGOs like Transparency International, and then, things like WikiLeaks style exposure. Okay. So we would assume that in this scenario that people are going to be very transparent with each other, and countries are going to be working together, and like it says, life is going to be all sunshine and rainbows. Okay. So we'll look at the pessimistic view next. Just, ignore those. Actually, hold on, go back. So remember, optimistic view right here, and then pessimistic view. Okay. Globalization. Okay. It leads to new violent non-state actors. Okay. So this can be terror networks, terrorist organizations, or transnational crime. Okay. Well, so I guess anonymous would be a really good example of this. Okay. We have people going around thinking that they're or forming a group that is over the internet, could technically be in person, but it's harder for states to fight decentralized threats when they're coming from all around the world. Like you could just go and just a bunch of American citizens can just start talking shit about China right now. Okay, a bunch of people in England can just start talking shit about America right now and maybe make terrorist threats, and it's really hard for countries to go and track that down. Okay. Now, when it's taking place in person, they're showing up to protest or organizing meetings, a lot more easier to track down. Okay. Then there's the democratic deficit. Okay. Who elects these global institutions? Like, who gets to decide who is making decisions for the whole country? Citizens then lose a lot of control because then they have less say because there's people outside the country telling them what they can and cannot do or making decisions for them. It feels like, okay. And then there's the risk of technocratic elites. Okay. Now here's the Bretton Woods system. Okay. Now this was created in 1944 to stabilize global economy, key institutions. The IMF manages and exchange rates and loans. The World Bank is going to be development assistance. The GATT and WTO trade liberalization, and this enabled the Washington consensus, deregulating, privatization, free trade, and financial liberalization. Okay. Now, economic globalization, key features. Okay. So mainly when it comes to trade, okay, goods and produce are sold globally and there's supply chains everywhere. Okay. It allows for these countries to interact with one another and have some international relations, which is what a lot of you guys actually are interested in this class. Obviously, this is where comparative politics and international relations really start to blend. Okay. Because when there's healthy international relations, you will see more of this trade globalization take place. Okay. And also financial globalization. Okay, well, they'll have integrated markets. Okay, you have other countries investing um, their money or into these foreign markets. Okay, global investment flows and money begins to move instantly. I would say one thing that is going to play a big role in the future. It already has been playing a role. Is how we see cryptocurrency being moved around. Okay, I think it's a way that would allow for us to become more integrated within the market because we are not transferring from one tender to the other. There's like a universal currency that we are using. Okay, obviously it can feel that the American dollar is this universal currency, but it is in the past year or so we've seen how there's been maybe some countries shifting away from that. Okay, now, what are the top economies for global investment? The United States is still out top. We've seen Canada actually move up to two. China has dropped down a few. Japan has moved up a few spots as well. Germany has dropped down. The UK has dropped down. Some of the biggest ones when it comes to investment, you'll see these two countries that made the biggest jumps would be like the UAE and then Saudi Arabia. Okay, these are countries, South Korea as well, and Italy that were not on this list 10 years ago. This is has a lot of variance, can always change. Okay. Now, world merchandise exports. Okay, in 1992 it was 3 trillion. In 2010 it was 12 trillion. Now, foreign direct investment. Okay, in 1992 it was 200 billion, and in 2007 it was 2 trillion. These numbers have exponentially gone up, and they will continue to most likely go up because countries, well, maybe due to inflation, but countries do like to invest in countries that are well developed. Okay, and that actually have the power to continue to spread, maybe, or hold onto that issue. They're like safe investments, hold on to their area. Now, identity and globalize the world. Okay, old identities weaken, new identities emerge. Okay, this is how we get like Jollibees in America, we get McDonald's in China. Okay, we get Apple factory, not only well, Apple, I should say like Apple sweatshop, Nike sweatshops in these foreign countries. Okay, but regardless, that is how we get Targets, Walmart, any business corporation that you see when they go international. That is how you can identify a globalized world. Okay. Um, Now, sometimes this does begin to clash with like social and like cultural norms within the countries, but it is something that gets adapted into those norms. Okay, but it is a downside of globalization. Okay, so your textbook highlights McDonald's in Arabia. What's also funny too is kind of like how these countries how they operate, or these companies operate in different countries. Like Costco, they have bulgogi bakes in Asia. Okay, we have chicken bakes here in America. Okay, like they make different. There's like bento boxes. Like there's just and it sounds dumb, but they'll try to adjust to these cultural norms. But at the end of the day, they're bringing in a lot of the cultural norms that from the country that they originate from. Okay, now what are some cultural effects? Okay, global media flows, migration, transnational communities, and a rise of cosmopolitan identities. Once again, also backlash to this is nationalism is populism because these people feel that inherently are born within the country feel that they're being replaced or their identity is being washed out. Okay. Now the big question is globalization shifts the freedom and equality debate from domestic to global. Okay. So who actually protects rights globally? Who regulates these markets? Who represents citizens? And can democracy survive within these global institutions? Okay. Like, or is it just pushing, we're just moving away from democracy and it maybe makes our vote a little less valuable. Okay. Now, is globalization new? Humans have always been connected, but at the rate that we connect now, it is unprecedented. Okay. Once again, the speed and the scale in which humans interact with one another is vastly different to what it was 20 years, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. Okay. We are able to experience new things around the world all the time. And if you wanted today to go to Singapore, you can buy a plane ticket. If you want to go to Canada today, you can drive up there or buy a plane ticket once again. Okay. If you wanted to make your way across the world and do a tour of Europe, okay, you can do it and you can go and examine and connect with all these people in all these different areas. Could you have done that 20 years ago? Yes. But now you can actually do it without having to leave your room. You can sit right here in front of these computers, learn and talk to people that are living within all of those areas that we just named right now. And it's so easy. Okay. Now, is it exaggerated? Some areas still remain deeply national. Some areas are like closed off. Okay, some we have not, intervened with every single village, every single tribe, every single country, and those countries that we do um, have maybe interacted with doesn't always mean that they're, saying we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna push into globalization. Now, some of them are resistant to it and they like to keep their own national identity. Okay, is it irreversible? Your textbook says, yeah, possibly, but politics suggests probably not. We're gonna like to take influence from other places. Okay, we've done it already. At the start of not just American history, but many countries' history, they like to go back and look at. Remember, they'll look at political um, upbringings of other countries. They like to look at philosophers. They like to look at religious texts in order to influence their politics. Okay, so we're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be looking around the world and we're going to try to see what influences how we can create maybe a better world or a better country for our national citizens or for like those natural citizens. Okay. Now, let's see if we can win some money on Rainbit. I'm just fucking with you guys. Okay. I've just been brainwriting a lot lately. So that's why I just threw a bunch of random memes in this last chapter. Plus, I'm trying to throw you off. See if anyone's actually watching these anymore. So, seeing the views kind of maybe dwindle down a bit from the beginning of the semester, but it is what it is. Some of these chapters are really easy. Okay, and congrats on reaching the end, everyone. Good luck on your final. Hopefully you enjoyed the class. Hopefully you enjoyed the semester. I know for my first time teaching this class and it being online, it was a new experience for me. I enjoyed it. I know there's some areas that I could probably improve in. I will be posting a survey for you guys to give me some feedback on what you think I can do better to teach future students on this exact topic for this class. But once again, I hope that you enjoy the semester. It was a pleasure having every single one of you guys in the class. And best of luck to you guys on the final.